The Play Absolutely podcast with Dr. Sue Jennings and Dr. Andy Hickson. Good afternoon, Sue, and great to see you again.
Great. Hello, Andy. Nice to be back.
Yeah, the important question, have you been able to play?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited. I've got some fresh sand to replace my sand tray content.
I've had a great gameplay week as well. We both. We wouldn't have a podcast about play if we both didn't enjoy playing. And one of the things that I really enjoy are board games. I play a lot of board games and card
Mhm.
games with my children and with others, including ones that you probably never heard of. Things like board game such as Catan, which is a fabulous game, or a card game called Magic the Gathering, the Commander version, which there's the centres of there's actual gameplay shops you can go to now with your own deck of special Commander Magic cards. You can take them and play against opposition from all over your local area.
Gosh,
I know, it's pretty amazing.
no.
It's
I can play Snakes and Ladders.
a game of chance, of course.
It's
Snakes
a
and
lovely
Ladders
board game.
is, well, I find it rather boring. Games of chance, I tend to avoid now that I'm an adult.
Mm.
But games like Magic and Catan, although there's elements of chance, as in real life, of course, we've got elements of chance.
I also like playing Patience,
Okay, now there's a skill based game.
which is it's so handy. You can play it on your own and you can play it wherever you are.
Yeah.
That I do enjoy playing that myself.
So even though you're not an avid board game or card game player, some of the, as you've told them, without being insulting, basic games, they're still games. Uh, are there any benefits, like similar to what we talked about, in terms of messy play and water play and so on? Any
Mm.
benefits to board game or card game play that help us in
You see,
skills?
I
Do you think?
think both card games and board games can be therapeutic for many children and young people. And it's like any other play activity, it's tangible. One of the troubles with the arts and children with needs is it all seems a bit nebulous and you can't quite get hold of it. And you're not sure if the rules are right and you're not sure if you're doing what the teacher wants you to do.
Right.
I mean, remember, there's an awful lot about approval in education, unfortunately. And children often come to play or drama therapy and behave in the same way as when they go to the class. They look for approval to make sure they're doing it right.
Doing it right, correct.
Whereas the board game has rules that are understood and known.
Hmm.
So a child is clear what they have to do. And I think that makes a very big difference.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I can see that.
especially for chess, I think.
Chess, I mean, yeah, age old, complicated game. And interestingly, chess,
Mm,
because I know we're going to talk about it, we're going to save it till later on, but seeing as you brought up chess,
mm,
um, AI, artificial intelligence, is with
mhm,
us now, whether we like it or not. And for a long time, I mean, we grew up with pre AI, of course, and a long time, AI was talked about as never being able to compete with humans on many levels. And the first level was chess, of course. And then I think the world champion, was it Kasparov at the time, was beaten by an AI chess game machine, which caused concern with a lot of people. But then the next challenge was it was the Chinese game called Go, and they said
God.
AI called Go, Go, Go. And they said that AI would never be able to beat Go because the champions were just too impressive. But I think they did. They had two tournaments with the world champion at Go versus the I think Deep Blue or something like that it was called at the time. I'm racking my memories. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. But AI won, of course, and that kind of moved the boundaries for AI in terms of strategic thinking, in terms of, people were saying it's very close to feeling and emotions now, and how soon before AI will actually replace humans at all levels of society. Now, we haven't seen that. Elon Musk would maybe say 5 years. But interestingly, after brief discussions that you and I had, I asked AI a question. And the question was something along the lines of, can AI play? Or what does AI understand about play? Can it experience play? Can it learn from play? And we made a video which is up online at the moment. If you want to see the video, you can see the link in the description. But a really interesting answer, I think. It still holds true from the AI perspective that they can't feel, they don't have emotions, they don't have, as this AI that we'll call Mike. So Mike is unable to feel, unable to express or experience emotions. And as Mike said, it partly because they don't have skin in the game, they don't have a body. And that's one of the things that we talked about. You particularly mentioned the
Hmm.
importance of a body in all kinds of gameplay, in terms of therapeutic gameplay, like the water play, the messy play, and so on. So, yeah, if you don't have a body, if you couldn't use your body, for example, and there are people, paraplegics, for example, that don't have full use of their body, what kind of play or gameplay would be of therapeutic use to them? And what are your thoughts on after watching? I know you're not a great AI sort of advocate, but what are your thoughts on what AI had to say about play?
I suppose a part of me, again, like with the board game, thinks, well, maybe with AI you can create some safe communication for children.
Hmm.
That maybe an AI personage, so to speak, could be created that would be safe to communicate with until somebody feels okay communicating to another person.
Like a first step in a
Yeah.
therapeutic process, for example.
Mm.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a thought, and I'm not
Mm.
quite sure how one would do it, but it's interesting to speculate on that, I think,
Mm.
because I think to highlight the fact that there isn't a body is really, really important because, as I've always said, our primary learning is through the body.
Yeah.
We experience something with the body before we do with our brain.
Mm.
I mean, this simple example I give to my students, you can walk into a room and the hair comes up on the back of your neck because there's something not right there,
Mm.
but you sense it physically first, and then your brain processes what that's all about.
Right.
So, from the point of view of how can we learn and process and express,
Mm.
would be very difficult for humans if they didn't have a body to do it through.
For sure. As we saw with people that don't have full use of their limbs, some people even unable to speak, that there are people that use sort of uh, AI to mimic speech patterns and so on, so
I
that.
mean, the advance in technology in relation to disability is enormous.
Okay.
Now, if you think even of Olympic athletes who are able to run a marathon,
Right, of course, with prosthetic legs. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary the research and testing and trying out that's gone on. I mean, it's opened up a whole new world for people.
It has, and for me, I know people. it's still an ongoing discussion, and still a philosophical one, I believe, in that because people don't know the limits of where AI is going to take us. And you know, we can envisage, because we've seen them, AIs with bodies. Robots, for example, is AI in a body. So if there comes a time when AI or AI models are provided with bodies, that if and they have that knowledge that if that body is going to, if it gets damaged, it can't be, you know, it can't be reset, for example, you know, much like the human body. You know, if you break an arm, you might be able to have it fixed, but you know, you fall off a cliff and smash to pieces, you're not going to be able to be reset to your previous self. You'll stay in that coffin, you know. So once AI gets to that point, when they know that if they get damaged, maybe that's the start of feelings. You know, you start to, if you can think of your imminent demise, maybe that's going to put feelings inside of you. Well, you want to prevent that, and if that's an AI, you know, they're going to want to put preventative measures in because they're going to want to keep on going, I would imagine.
Would you say at the moment the AI personage can't foresee the future? They can only be in the present.
That's interesting. I think AI models that certainly AI models that are available to people like you and I, the public, they draw on current information. You know, so anything that they can access from the internet, books, films, video. I mean, any data that is available online to be searched and so on. I think that's what AI can draw upon, and you know, the algorithms and the programming that's been sort of installed within the AI itself. So they can predict the future, much like, I don't know, sort of like weather forecasts and so on. But you know, it's only going to be based on modelling, and much like you know, I think it's the feelings and the emotions. You know, people always come back to that, don't they? The difference between AI and people is that it's going to be impossible for AI to feel. It's impossible for AI to have emotions. You know, an AI can't enjoy things, and they can't play in the sense that we play, because they don't care ultimately whether they win or lose. They don't learn from it. You know, as Mike said, the AI Mike said in the reply is that to me in our discussion that's online, is that Mike, after we might have played or explored something, doesn't go away when we finished our session and practice so that Mike can be better next time. Mike
Mm,
doesn't care,
mm,
because that's not built in
mm.
to the programming. Yeah. So the answer is I don't know where it can go, but ultimately I love your idea, and I think it's already happening. You know, it's happening to us, not just in terms of play, but you know, you imagine now on the NHS. So if you're feeling sick or something, you know, one of the things now is you don't get directly to the doctors often. You don't, you know, when you ring up the NHS online or you use the NHS app, you start speaking to AI business, to an AI chatbot or something like that that will assess a series of symptoms. So the first stage already is AI. You know,
Mm,
any and away from sort of health and so on, all the communications now, you know, all the big companies, Amazon, you know, eBay and YouTube or whatever, all the big companies, you try and speak to somebody, no chance. It's really, really difficult.
mm,
You have to go through online messaging, and you're talking to robots
mm,
essentially, and it can get very frustrating, as I'm sure it is for you. It certainly is for me, because you end up in a loop because they don't care that you're frustrated. You know, they haven't got feelings, emotions. They haven't got skin in the game. They're just programmed to repeat whatever. So, you know, it's you often just ending up in an endless loop, which is great for them because it ultimately means that they're not answerable anymore to us.
And there's no frustration
Yeah,
when you insist on a certain question being answered.
yeah. No, it isn't. I mean, all these assertiveness skills that we learned when we were younger in terms of dealing with authority or customer care and so on is out of the window now because you're dealing with robots and it doesn't matter how you say it, what you say, usually. You need to find a way to get past the robots and speak to a human before, you
And
know.
of course, it's interesting, isn't it, that before the robots, we had that similarly frustrating situation when call centers would be anywhere in the world apart from in your own country.
Of course, yeah.
And that led to such nonsense because the people answering the phone also had a set of answers on a card,
Yeah,
which they read out, and they weren't allowed to say anything else.
couldn't deviate from that. Yeah.
So, my late husband, Peter, and I found a little system to work it
Oh,
that we could guess pretty usually that most people were in India.
right.
So we'd say things like, oh, how are you? How are you? And then one of us would say, is it the monsoon time yet? And they'd be so thrown they would answer that question.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we had discussions about the weather because once we'd clocked where they were, they couldn't keep up the pretense.
No, and I don't think they pretend anymore because we still do have international call centres because it's obviously cheaper. They don't, you know, these big companies, they don't want to pay the local rate. They don't want to pay what they
Mm.
should be paying people in England. So they go to places like India where they, you know, they pay them a pittance, of course.
Mm.
It's because it's all to do
I mean, it's
with the
sheer
money.
exploitation, really.
Well, it is. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the abandonment of currencies. We should all deal in the same currency. But
Mm.
yeah, there you go. A lot of people will shoot me down for that for a
Mm.
variety of reasons. But we're not here to make political points. We're talking about play here.
Because
And I
basically,
think
we're talking about communication through play
communication through play,
or
but
play with communication. Mm.
for sure. And I think you sort of highlighted that a little bit in terms of the international call centres, is that I think one of the only ways not to be frustrated in your communication or interactions with them um, is is maybe you have to do it playfully. Otherwise, you're just going to get frustrated. Uh, you know, we've both travelled to India. We love India.
Mm.
The thing is, it's not about the call center being in India. It's not about how much they get paid.
Mm.
It's about when you go to a call center or a customer service center for something you want to complain about or have a dialogue about. You want somebody that's got local knowledge. You know, so if I'm talking about, oh, you know that shop you've got in Bristol, and they have no idea where Bristol is, it's not going to be helpful. So you want people locally, and you know, pay them the proper wage. And if not, play with them.
But of course, one thing I think we need to be very careful about with AI and play, because to the uninitiated, it could look as if the AI avatar was playing.
Mm.
It's all the same as people saying to me, well, if you're just playing, why do you need to have a training
Right. And as you and
about
I
play
know,
therapy and drama therapy?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
just playing, aren't you? So people don't realize that somebody of any age, if they engage with that process, they can become extremely vulnerable. They can say things that they never thought existed,
yeah,
or things they kept very skillfully buried.
yes, that's absolutely true. And AI in its, if you watch the video, again, link in the description, they are very honest, or certainly Mike, who I discussed this with, AI
Mm,
Mike, was very honest in saying, look, we cannot play, AI cannot play
mm,
in the same way that humans can, because we
mm.
don't
But
feel,
they
we
can
don't get
simulate
joy.
play.
They can simulate play, and
Mm,
one of the things that I think AI, from my interactions with this AI Mike, where I think it could be most useful for us, this is what I got from it, is in something that a lot of humans find difficult to do, and that's through improvisation. Because one of the keys, as we know, being theatre people, one of the keys to improvisation is this ability to accept offers, accept what your fellow improvisers are offering you. And a lot of people, a lot of actors, for a variety of different reasons, have difficulty accepting things, because it, when you accept something and you go with the flow of somebody else's idea, you're making yourself vulnerable. And a lot of actors don't like to be vulnerable. They don't like to share what might be the real them.
mm,
Whereas AI, they can accept everything. Anything you give an AI, usually
mm,
they will accept. They won't say to you, that's a rubbish idea, think of something else. They'll run with it. However absurd, they'll run with it and help you expand it and explore it and so on. So through
mm.
improvisation, maybe exploring how things can change, you can sort of have a backwards and forwards, which will help you, much like you and I having a discussion. But in the end of it, if you carry through with any of the, if you've come up with action points, for example, you carry through with it, it's your responsibility. It's not the AI, and the AI doesn't care what you do with it because it doesn't feel. So yeah, the where it's going to go, I'm not sure. Elon Musk, on a recent podcast with Joe Rogan, I believe it was, Elon Musk was saying that within 5 years, applications, apps, programs on our phones that we have will be a thing of the past, and that if we have a phone, if we still have a device such as a mobile phone, the only thing on there will be AI. So an AI will provide all the content that we want or require. And he also goes on to say that he says 99% of the content will also be produced by AI. It's 5 years. It's not that far away, and that's
No,
pretty
it
scary.
isn't.
Because one of the things that gets on my nerves, I don't know about you, is now trying to work out, when we're watching short films or videos or online material,
Mm,
was that produced by a human or was it AI? Now, some people might say, does it matter?
mm,
To me, it does. I like to know that it's come from somebody's mind, somebody's creative process, rather than an AI process that ultimately anyone can do. So, but it's getting so sophisticated now. It's really difficult
mm.
to tell the
And of
difference.
course, Equity, our union, at the
Well, that's
moment is debating the whole thing of just what is going to happen to actors if
yeah,
people are going to take shortcuts and replace actors with AI. I mean, the artistic professions are in a bad enough state as it is, with shortage of work and so on. If there's going to be,
yes,
if we're going to be replaced, as it seems that we can, and other people don't necessarily know the difference,
hmm,
what's going to
yeah.
happen now?
Well, maybe it's going to be about, we're all going to go local again, because one of the difficulties in being able to detect AI is that when we're working on screens all the time, it's much more easy, I believe, to simulate um, non-human interactions as being human.
Hmm.
Um, just looking at the video, I mean, it's not quite there yet, but our AI mic video, again, link in the description, uh, that video looks very human-like. You can tell it's AI, but it does
Mm.
look very human-like. So the way to be able to tell at the moment and this will change, of course, when we get prosthetic bodies, is to be in person. So when we're in person, when you and I are in the same room, we both know it's mother and son. When you're with your friends, you know it. You know it's with them. You can shake their hand. You've got that physical touch. And I think moving it to one of the other topics that we were going to talk about, which is very important, and I think certainly at the moment moves away from AI business, is this outdoor play. So being able to experience on your skin, breathing that cold winter air as it is at the moment, feeling the sun or the wind or the snow on your body, on your face, the smell of the flowers, the smell of the mushrooms, so outdoor play before you've even started playing, just going outdoors into the countryside, which you can't yet do on a screen, thankfully. That's one area of play we haven't yet explored, but I think must be one of the most important aspects of play, is this idea of outdoor play. What say you,
Yes.
Sue?
I mean, look at the success of the forest schools, for example.
Yeah.
Children who just don't feel they can exist in a classroom join a forest school and they're learning.
Mm.
And okay, so they're in teepees or tents or shelters in the woods. But what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. And of course, look at the experience that you gave your children.
Mm,
I'll talk from my perspective. When we went, we haven't missed an episode where we've mentioned the Temiar, of course, the Temiar
mm.
of Malaysia. When we went to live in the Temiar in the jungle, it was outdoors, and all our play was outdoor play. And
It
this
was
was
really back to
way
basics,
before
wasn't it?
forest schools.
Mm.
It was the jungle school, of course.
And everybody seemed to be more creative, more inventive when they were playing a lot outdoors.
There's some amazing pictures. Of course, we didn't have mobile phones or video cameras really in those days,
Mm-hmm.
did we? But we have got some photos, and I will put up on screen a few photos of Temiar children playing and using what they had,
Mm.
just to show our viewers, because there's some great images. I seem to
It's something
remember.
that impressed me so much
Yeah.
because, as people know, the Temel houses are built off the ground for various cultural reasons.
Mm.
But this didn't deter the children at all, that they would crawl under the house and even make a little hammock
Yeah.
underneath the house so they could actually rock themselves or have a swing and so on.
Yeah,
That they were
absolutely.
able to respond to the environment in so many different ways.
And do you remember they even made use of some things that we initially brought in? We thought umbrellas would be great in the jungle with so much rain. Little did we know that they'd be practically useless. But the Temiar, I remember we have a great picture, I'll try to find it, of two Temiar young children with umbrellas and babies or something like that. But I remember it being
Yes,
a
I've
great
got that
image.
one.
I think it's in one of your books,
Yes,
that image. Yeah,
I've also got it on a slide.
okay. Yeah, I'll have a look. If not, I'll get you to
Mm.
send me a copy.
But of course, if there were no umbrellas around, they knew which trees had got very big leaves, and they would
Yeah,
hold one of those over their heads.
no, absolutely.
But what was impressive, I think, with the Temial people and the outdoors was, yes, they would play, yes, they would invent, yes, they would make use of things, but there was always that respect for nature.
Hmm.
They would always think carefully before doing anything or chopping anything down or
Hmm.
cutting anything. That huge respect.
Nothing wasted.
Mm.
Hmm. Yes. So let's just have a little dive before we bring this podcast to a close. I Something I'd really like to hear. So from you. First of all, I mean, I looked through my own life very briefly, and I sort of grew up pre any kind of idea of AI and so on. In fact, in my early years, I remember at home I watched a black and white television, a small black and white TV, which I only had one channel. I think it was just BBC One in the beginning,
Mm.
if I remember correctly. I remember watching the Olympics on there as a child, which I found quite exciting. A runner called Kit Kano was my hero at the time when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. But let's take it back even further, because you are older than me. Uh,
Just a bit.
in terms of play, when you were a kid, what did you have access to? What do you have fun with? What was played that you played with as a kid that you think is still valid or important
Mm.
play
Yes, that's
now?
interesting because my parents insisted on us living in the country rather than the town. So we had access to nature
Mm,
and we lived on a very small farm. So we had cows and chickens and a pig and so on. So we had farm animals, but we were surrounded by fields and woods and woodland. And we'd go off roaming either with a sibling or on our own, and nobody would be at all worried about that.
mm,
I'd sometimes take a picnic and go off wandering for the day and have
okay.
my sandwiches and something to drink and then come back in the afternoon, and nobody would be worried about that. I mean, you can't do that anymore, unfortunately.
No.
But nevertheless, there is still the possibility of nature being a wondrous thing, of being able to get up early in the morning and watch the sunrise or watch a rainbow or go to the woods and bird watch and so on. I mean, it's still possible to do those things.
It's still possible to do those things. And I remember, actually, it was about 10 years ago that I read this somewhere, that there was a huge study, worldwide study done on the most iconic toy ever invented.
Hmm.
And I've said this to a few people, over the time. What do you think is the most iconic toy? And we've got Lego and lots of different examples and so on. But actually, the number one toy that was voted was a stick. That's the number one toy throughout the world is a stick. And yeah, I remember playing with a stick. Poo sticks, for example. I played that as a child. I played that with my children. They still find it exciting. And of course, a stick can be anything. It can be a sword, can be a wand, can be a boat, can be all those things. Do you
Anything you
remember
want it to be.
anything you want it to be? And do you remember the thing we talked about in one of our episodes in terms of Augusto Boal and what he would use a bottle for? What's in a bottle? And it can be anything you want. The same with a stick. It can be a very practical, useful thing, a walking stick, or to help you get through the undergrowth. But it also can be any toy you wanted it to be. So, yeah,
Or any food or any musical instrument.
there's my stick. Indeed, yeah, yeah. So, still today, the least technological and most ecological thing ever. I was going to say invented, but I would say inspired
Mm.
is a stick.
Mm.
Yeah. Play with a stick, everybody. Throw away your mobile phones and go outside and play
Give your children
with a
sticks for
stick.
Christmas.
A stick for Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. On that note, sticks for Christmas. I might just do that.
Okay.
Well, hold on.
And I will
What do you
just
think the children would
sail
say?
away in my paddle boat with my stick, all right?
With your stick. Okay. Well, look forward to the next episode with you, Sue.
Okay,
Been interesting. We've gone right from the future AI right to the past in terms of sticks. Um,
indeed.
yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Listen,
take
stay
care.
safe, and I'll say your line. Don't forget to play.
Oh, you said it now. Bye-bye.